What's up guys, my name is Ace, and it's that time of the year again where content's pretty slow leading up to Vanguard. There's not a whole lot to talk about at the moment, and therefore I decided it's a perfect time to do another Q&A. I haven't done one of these for about a year now, and yesterday I reached out on Twitter. I just asked you guys to let me know which questions you'd like me to answer for this, and that's where I'm pulling these questions from. So if you guys haven't followed me on Twitter yet, I highly recommend doing that. I will leave a link to that in the description down below. But let's just dive right into this. This is going to be in no particular order. These questions are all over the place. Some of them are about Call of Duty. Some of them are about like YouTube. Some of them are about my life. So yeah, let's just dive in. And diving right in, the first question we've got here is from Sam, and this is, if you could wipe all memory and experience a CoD for the first time again, what would it be? I think Modern Warfare 2, actually. Even though Modern Warfare 2 isn't my favorite CoD of all time, and it was kind of a broken mess in a lot of ways, diving right into that for the first time was some of the most memorable Call of Duty experiences that I've ever had. Modern Warfare 2 really pushed things to the next level after CoD 4 and World at War were kind of clones of each other with a different setting in a lot of ways. Modern Warfare 2 really pushed the envelope by introducing way more kill streaks than ever before and just crazy gameplay. So yeah, if I could experience in its prime, like day one when it first launched, before everybody figured out how to do all the like one-man army noob tube stuff, absolutely Modern Warfare 2. Next up, do I prefer jetpacks or boots on the ground? I'm assuming this is within the context of Call of Duty. I gotta say boots on the ground. I think it's better for the franchise. It appeals to a wider audience, and that's a good thing. Even though I personally love playing with jetpacks, I would rather have boots on the ground for Call of Duty. Next up, we've got one from Balloonatic, and this one is, what is your favorite type of video to make? Gun guides, maps exposed, breakdowns, tips, others, and why? I think my standard like mechanic breakdown videos are probably the most enjoyable to make. These are where, like, if a Call of Duty introduces a new mechanic or they change a mechanic, I can dive in and do a bunch of testing on it to figure out exactly how this mechanic works, put that in a video format that's easy to digest, and send it out to you guys. That's my favorite just because it's different for every video that I make. When it comes to gun guides, as much as I enjoy making gun guides, it's kind of the same thing over and over again, but you're looking at slightly different stats on weapons. Whereas those other breakdown videos, every one of them is a unique mechanic that needs to be tested in its own unique way, and I just find that really enjoyable. Then we've got one from Diego, and this is, do you think the trend of tryharding at everything has made CoD less enjoyable? There's nothing wrong with getting better, but what made old CoD titles more entertaining to play is the fact that almost nobody took the game so seriously, unlike recent years. I think maybe partially, but I don't think it's like the biggest reason to blame at this point. I think the matchmaking system has made it feel like this is way worse than it actually is. But at the same time, I do acknowledge people are taking things more seriously. YouTube has become much bigger, and tips on YouTube and trying to become a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer, and therefore people are taking it very, very seriously compared to way back in the day. So I would say partially, but the matchmaking is what really makes that stand out as being much worse than it would be if we just had organic, natural matchmaking where it was just best connection, throw you into the lobby with whoever you get. After that one, we've got one from Jamal, and this is, do you think if the footstep sounds in Vanguard are the same as Modern Warfare with dead silence being an upgrade, would it ruin the game experience for you throughout the year like it did with Modern Warfare? Very possible. It's very, very possible that that could be the case, and that is currently my #1 gameplay-related concern with Vanguard, is that they are going to overtune footstep audio for launch, and it's going to end up being way too loud with no permanent dead silence perk, like we've seen in literally every single Call of Duty game, aside from Modern Warfare 2019, and I think Advanced Warfare as well, but that's a different style of game where footstep audio is not as relevant because you're jumping around like crazy. But yeah, I'm definitely concerned about this. However, I also don't think it would be as bad. Even if it had Modern Warfare level footsteps, I think it would be slightly more tolerable in Vanguard. I still don't want to see it, but it would be slightly more tolerable due to the map design based on what we've seen so far. It doesn't look like they're going with the overly porous route with the general map design in Vanguard based on what we've seen, and therefore I think it would be slightly more tolerable than Modern Warfare. Moving on to the next one. This one's from Edgar, and the question here is basically summed up, do I think Vanguard is going to be coming in with the same design and philosophy as Modern Warfare 2019, with it being more like tactical and trying to push slightly more realism rather than the arcadiness, or do I think they will stick to the more arcade pacing of Cold War? In my experience with the beta, it seems like they're going for a bit more of a middle ground, maybe leaning a little bit more in the direction of Modern Warfare, but it doesn't seem like they're just copying and pasting the gameplay design philosophy of Modern Warfare, thankfully. But I feel like Vanguard is the type of game that could potentially appeal to both players, the people that love Cold War as well as the people that love Modern Warfare, because it is somewhere in between those. It's somewhere in the middle. So yeah, I'm hopeful for Vanguard, but again, like I said with the footstep audio, like there are concerns that I have that maybe it could end up being too far in the Modern Warfare direction. Next one's a quick one from Helen Park. Are you reading comments in your videos? I try my absolute best to keep up with comments, at least on newer videos. I don't always catch like replies to comments and things, but when it comes to just regular comments being left, I see probably 90% of them. I see most of them. Then we've got one from Henry, and this is, do you think Classic Prestige will ever return? Maybe when Battle Royale trend dies and they have to focus on regular multiplayer again. No, I don't think we're going to be seeing Classic Prestige as it was back in the day. The direction that they've been going in, regardless of whether or not there'd be a Battle Royale, the direction they've gone in is toward player retention across the entire year, and this is where the seasonal system comes in. And I do think it's probably very effective at maintaining that player retention throughout the year as a whole. It might not work for everyone. I know there's going to be some people out there saying, doesn't work for me, I'm playing less than ever. But on average, it seems to be doing that. Because when you have a new season and you reset your level, then people are going to be coming back to it every single season and playing more. At least a lot of people, that's how they operate. Whereas previously with the Prestige system, a lot of people would grind it super hard in the first 2 to 3 months, and they'd max out their Prestige, and then they would barely touch it for the rest of the year. So yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing a full-on Classic Prestige system ever return, but I'd like to see more elements return from the Classic Prestige system and maybe merge it a little bit better with the seasonal system. Next up, we've got one from Reaper. What game do you think you'll be playing most next year? Vanguard or Battlefield 2042? It's going to be Vanguard. I'm a Call of Duty YouTuber. I prefer playing Call of Duty. That's always been my preferred franchise. I liked the Battlefield 2042 beta, and I've got high hopes for that. And I think it's going to be my most played Battlefield game of all time. But I still just lean more in the direction of Call of Duty style gameplay, and therefore Vanguard will be my #1 focus. Next up, we got one from Miguel, and this is, what would you change in Warzone that would make you enjoy playing it again? For those that don't know, I haven't been playing Warzone for quite some time, even though it is not good for my channel. That has definitely harmed my channel, but I'm not going to force myself to play something that I straight up don't have fun playing, which I don't in its current state. So what would I change? I would say the bare minimum, it's going to be the anti-cheat system, which is coming. Brand new map, that's another thing that's going to bring me back. And another thing I'm really hoping we see with the Vanguard integration is some real gameplay evolution. Change up the perks, change up the loadouts a little bit, change how we approach the gameplay in some real way. I think the map is going to be a big contributor to doing that, and then I will be excited to play Warzone again. Until any of that happens, I don't see myself really ever touching Warzone. After that one, we got one from John Spartan, and with this he says, with CoD having a large competitive scene, why is it so hard to get a decent ranked system? They spend so much effort on SBMM, but almost none on a good MMR system like Rainbow Six Siege or Overwatch, which they own too, so they could just borrow. Okay, so you say CoD has a large competitive scene. It's really not that large. It might look large. It's pretty tiny when you compare it to games like Rainbow Six Siege and Overwatch. Those games are designed from the ground up to be quite competitive, and therefore they're better suited to a competitive, like an esport. Whereas CoD is designed for really casual matches, and then they sort of create a competitive mode out of that by banning a ton of things. And while there is a lot of money behind it and everything, when you look at the general player base of CoD, the average CoD player will never care about competitive Call of Duty. They're the type of players that just log on for a few games after work or something. They don't care about CoD as an esport. And therefore, that's why I don't think they're pushing the rank system so hard, is even when they do a great job with a rank system, it's still, what, maybe 3% of the player base playing it? I think that's being generous. And that's just due to the fact that the CoD player base is mainly there for a super casual experience. Next question comes from King Stud, and this is, do you think Warzone would play better if Dead Silence was a perk that anyone could use and not just an item you find looting? No, absolutely not. Battle Royale games are very different from multiplayer, so this is going to be a very different opinion to my opinion on Dead Silence for multiplayer. But in a Battle Royale game, Having a permanent dead silence style perk would be terrible for gameplay flow. I don't think that would be a good thing at all. Now, this might be a slightly unpopular opinion compared to a lot of big streamers and hardcore Warzone players out there. I like dead silence as a field upgrade, something that you can use that's just a temporary use and it's just a one-time thing. You have to find it on the ground. I just think it could be tweaked and should be tweaked. I think one of the biggest things with dead silence is I don't think it should reset after a kill. I think maybe to compensate for that, they could slightly increase the duration of dead silence, just slightly, not like doubling it or anything, but slightly increase that duration and then make it so there's no ability for it to reset itself and continue on after a kill. That would still allow you to make those key pushes against a team that you otherwise wouldn't bother pushing because you know that they're all just going to hear you coming. I think it would be a great tactical tool at that point. It would be a lot less powerful than it currently is, and I think people could get on board with that more so than the current state of dead silence. Another question on the same topic of Warzone and some things that I would like to see changed. This is, if you could redo Warzone's perks however you saw fit, what would you change? What would you add, take away, nerf, or buff? One thing that I would love to see, and I think it would be a neat idea that would add some more depth to the loadout experience. I've always wanted to see in Warzone where for your loadout, what you're actually getting is just your weapon with the ideal attachments, like your attachment setup, and then make it so perks are items. They're pickups around the map that you will find, or make it so you could purchase those individually. I think a system like that could be interesting to see. It would be very exciting if you found a perk in a chest, for instance. You could get those earlier on in the match. It would also make that discrepancy between somebody that has a loadout versus somebody that doesn't a lot less. There'd be less of a discrepancy there. And I think that would lead to a very interesting experience. You'd still be able to get that perfect weapon setup that you'd like, but then you'd have to actively search for your perks. I think that would be interesting to see. I don't know if that's necessarily a popular thing, but it is something that I've always thought would be interesting. After that one, we got one from JD, and his question is, if you could bring back any two maps from CoD World War II to Vanguard, which maps would you choose? I actually went in and I had a look at the map list because I often forget off the top of my head. I would like to see London Docks as well as Sainte Marie du Mont. I really like those two maps. I think they're really nicely designed for competitive play. They're interesting enough and unique enough that they're not just boring like cookie cutter maps. I think there is some interesting dynamic to them. And overall, I just liked how those played. So I'd love to see those return to Vanguard. Next up, we have one from Solar Sentinel, and this is, what feature / game mechanic from an older CoD title would you like to see return? I would love to see the strike packages return from Modern Warfare 3, but with a few adjustments. So with the strike packages, for those that aren't aware, you could have the Assault strike package, which is going to be your lethal kill streaks, and you have to get them all in the same life, like normal kill streaks that we've seen in Call of Duty, or it could be score streaks as well. Then have the Support strike package, which gives you 100% non-lethal streaks. Modern Warfare 3 wasn't all non-lethal. They did have the stealth bomber, so that wouldn't be included in my perfect vision for this. It would be just support-style streaks that just help with sort of like recon, so it'd be like your UAVs, counter UAVs, things like that, and you can get those even through death, so if you die, it doesn't reset your streak counter or anything. And then have your Specialist strike package, where you earn perks instead of the actual score streak rewards. I'd love to see that return, and we haven't seen that for many years. We did see something like that in CoD Ghosts, but yeah, we haven't seen anything quite like that since then, with all three of those options available. After that, we've got one from Draco, and this is, what is the thing you hate most in CoD? And some people might be surprised to hear this. Most people are probably thinking he's gonna say skill-based matchmaking. I'm not. I'm actually gonna say disbanding lobbies. I could deal with their current skill-based matchmaking at least a little bit better than I currently do if we at least had lobbies that stuck together. That is my #1 complaint with Call of Duty at the moment, I feel, and that is the biggest thing I would love to see changed. Next, we got one from Mick, and he says, do you think the anti-cheat will work as effectively as it should and entice more ex-players to return to the game? Referring to Warzone, I assume. I am fairly optimistic, actually, with Ricochet. It looks like they are taking all of the proper steps to having a actual proper anti-cheat in place. And don't get me wrong, I by no means expect that it's going to 100% eliminate cheating, but I do feel optimistic that it will cut down on cheating enough to where the game won't be infested with cheaters, where you're running into them constantly. And therefore, yeah, I do think that is going to cause a lot of players like myself to return. That, as well as like fresh content, a new map, and everything like that. And finally, one more question here. We've got a Warzone related question. And this is from Simon. He says, would you support a no loadout mode for Warzone? As I think traditional BR experience could create a skill gap of players who can use what they find to win over people just running around with what they want and meta guns. I support it being in, at least as a featured mode or a limited time mode. I feel like they've tried that before, though, and it just didn't do well. And that's why we haven't been seeing it come back over and over again. I think the loadouts are sort of a core element of Warzone and something that really separates Warzone from other battle royales. And I actually do think that in general, the loadouts increase the skill gap rather than decreasing it, because when you don't have loadouts, then you are limited to what you find around the map. And regardless of your skill, if somebody finds something that's significantly better than what you found, they can still be able to get the kill on you with relative ease, where if you were in a more equal situation, then the player with the better skill will come out on top. So I'm all for it coming as a limited time mode, but it should be based on popularity, and if it's not popular, then I don't think they should keep bringing it back, or at least not really frequently. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's and potentially this year's Q&A. I likely won't be doing another one of these for quite some time. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you did, a like rating is always appreciated. I'll talk to you guys next time.